Anime Week in Atlanta, which is was here last year doing some interviews with voiceover actors, but this year I decided I wanted to go a different route. So today's interview this afternoon is Justin Richmond. Justin, say hi.
Hi. How are you guys?
So Justin's, if anyone's watching Netflix, and we all do that. We all binge on Netflix.
I hope so. Yes.
You can't miss if your kids are doing it or if you're into animation and stuff. The Dragon Prince is it's going into its third season on
That's
Netflix.
Right.
And
November 22nd.
Yes.
Check it out.
And you guys are the co-creators. You're the co-creator.
I am one of the co-creators, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So, Justin, just to start off, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and how, where you came from and
Sure.
family and all that.
Yeah. I'm from Boston originally. I grew up in the Northeast between Massachusetts and New York. I went to Boston University for film school. And after that, I worked at a company called Avid Technologies that makes linear editing systems, or non-linear editing systems, I should say. And while I was there, I got to see Soft Homage 3D, which is it used to be like the way you animated stuff in 3D.
Okay. Right.
They used it famously on like Jurassic Park and things like that. And I got bitten by the animation bug. And I went back to school. I went to Vancouver Film School for animation. After I graduated, I went into games and haven't looked back since. So
Then you were with Naughty Dogs.
before that, so I started at a company called Backbone up in the Bay Area, and I worked there for a couple of years. Then I worked for another tiny company, and then I went to Naughty Dog, where I was the lead multiplayer designer on Uncharted 2, and then I was the game director of Uncharted 3. And then I went to Riot Games, where I was a senior producer on an unannounced project, and then went to WonderStorm.
So how long have you been at WonderStorm?
So we, myself and Aaron Ihaz and Justin Sanesteven all were at Riot together. Aaron, who was the co-creator of The Dragon Prince, was the creative director of the studio, and Justin Sanesteven was the head of R&D finance and had worked on their product teams, and we sort of met up and talked about doing a thing, and it ended up sort of leaving at different times, but all ending up together and founding this company called WonderStorm, and we left in 2015 it's crazy. It's 4 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. So you're co-owners in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
production company.
That's
Cool.
right. Yeah.
How is it moving from the gaming world and doing that type of story stuff into animation? Is there?
I mean, it's great. I love it. I love all sorts of, I love gameplay, obviously. I've been doing games for a long time, but I love storytelling in sort of all different formats. And there's some stuff that's really nice about animation. There's things that are hard and tricky, obviously, but the best, sort of one of the nice things about animation is there's kind of a known set of time that it takes to make something. In video games, it can be very amorphous as to how long it's going to take a game to be good or fun.
Yeah.
And it's still hard to make television shows, but there's like an actual schedule where you could say like, well, if we start writing here, the episode will basically finish right around here within plus or minus a few days.
Storyboards and stuff.
Boards and animation and rendering and all that stuff. And so I do like that. I like the ability to kind of forecast a lot more clearly about how long it takes to do stuff.
Yeah, because otherwise gaming can evolve and change as you're doing it.
Gaming. Yeah, there's a lot of trying to find the fun is what we used to talk about, or what we talk about, and that can take 2 days or it could take a year and a half. Like who knows, right? Plus, there's all the technical challenges of making video games. Animation has a lot of technical challenges too, but with video games, there's definitely this a whole other element of technical challenges associated.
What is your typical day like?
Well, that's a good question. So, Aaron and I, the co-creator of the show, we meet up before work at about 8 at a coffee store, and we generally use that time to talk about story or ideas for the world, or sometimes we'll talk about the office stuff, but generally it's more creative time. We also wrote a lot of the episodes when we were writing. We would write in that time period too. So we do that for about an hour and then go to work, get in, meet with the team. Mornings we try to be creative, I guess is the creative time. So we generally try to do either room time or working with the writers or working with designers or whatever in the morning to sort of get some of the creative work done, and then in the afternoon try to do more like production-y, email-y, businessy stuff. Exactly.
Things that run the business.
Yeah, exactly. Things that actually get it done. And try to do more meetings in the afternoon and stuff like that. Yeah. So
that got to be tough to be able to change that pace. You're being in the creative mode, trying to do this stuff, coming out with ideas, and then all of a sudden have to shift. Business
like you get that lunch, break, which is nice. I like having both. I think I'd go crazy either way. If it was all production, I think I'd go crazy. If it was all creative, I think I'd start to burn out.
So every day's a little different.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something new going on. There's some new things.
So doing the Dragon Prince, this being the third season, starting November 22nd.
Yes, November 22nd.
And it's I think some people, at least online, are making comparisons to Avatar.
Sure.
The Airbender,
Yeah.
because your co-founder Aaron was part of that.
That's right. He was the head writer and co-EP on that show.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of there's some dark influences, I guess, within the series. To a degree.
Yeah.
It's not. It's different than American animation to the normal American animation that people are used to.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Not counting Adult Swim, maybe. Or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Even it's for sure.
So how did you? Was that intended? How?
I mean,
did you get into?
We try to make. I think we try to make stories that are that have real depth and meaning to them, and characters can face real struggles, and there are real challenges, and there's loss and all those kinds of things, but make it appropriate so that if an 8-year-old or 6-year-old turns it on, there's nothing in there that's inappropriate for them. They might not get it, right? They might not understand all of it.
Right.
But,
just like a Pixar movie.
Yeah, I mean, look, the goal is to hopefully tell a story that is universal enough that adults can watch it with their kids and feel like, wow, this is something I'm excited about too. So,
have you been a fan of anime?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I grew up, watching. Aaron and I actually bonded over Robotech, which is like, So we were both huge Robotech fans, and if someone wants to give us the Robotech license, we'd happily take it. No, we both bonded over that, and grew up watching anime and animation, and loving both Western and Eastern animation. So we sort of spent a lot of time in our youth, maybe.
You have kids, I think.
I do have 2 children. I have a 9-year-old and 11-year-old.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Great age. Right?
Yeah.
I remember watching Studio Ghibli movies.
Sure.
With my kids. That's how they grew up.
Yeah.
And then I got into anime like 5 years ago because they dragged me into, I think it was Hunter x Hunter.
Sure. Yeah.
And then into Death Note and Odd.
Okay. Oh, you went deep.
Yeah. Well, I have an older. They're 7 years apart. The boys.
Okay.
So I got to see the Berserk, and I got to see the other things. But Japanese animation is so much grown up, and it's so much different. And they're willing to wait a few seconds on a scene and just be there and not have any thought, language going on or speaking roles. American is so much different than that. So is it tough to get there with? I mean, you have a story team, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's we have a writer's room. So we, I think we're just trying to tell the best possible version of the story we can. And there's the nice thing about like anime, and particularly Eastern anime, is animation is not looked on as like a lower form of storytelling, right? It's like, it's just storytelling. Hopefully, I think we're starting to get there in the West. I think Spider-Verse, shout out to those guys. That movie is amazing, and I think people may have started to realize, like, you can tell really meaningful stories that adults can love too. And I love Pixar films. Obviously, they're for adults but just sort of a different style of storytelling, I think, is starting to come to the West, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. Business-wise,
I know, speaking to someone else, it's a little bit more difficult to hire people too, and I know you guys are in a hiring stage.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're hiring like crazy. Apply to our studio, wonderstorm.net. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Is it difficult to find people here in the States to be able to work for a company like yours?
I mean,
the skill level.
Yeah, I mean, we're mainly hiring for the video game right now. So we did all the writing and producing in Los Angeles, and then we worked with a co-production studio, Bardell Entertainment, in Vancouver, and they were amazing. They're absolutely incredible. We were up there all the time working with them. We had meetings every day, basically, like on Hangouts, doing reviews and all that kind of stuff. And they had the vast majority of the art team was up there doing stuff, and so we got really lucky in that they have a very deep roster of people they can pull from in Vancouver. Vancouver's an amazing animation town.
It is.
I love Vancouver. Shout out to Vancouver. I lived there for a year when I was in school, and I would go back in a second.
To live
it is expensive.
Yeah,
it is very expensive. But yeah, it is tricky. I mean, I think now there is so much media out there. Yeah. There's so many shows that it is tricky to try and pull the right people together.
I mean, what are you looking for? What skill sets are you even culturally? What are you looking for?
I mean, look, we want people that understand that we're trying to tell a deep, emotional story that is appropriate for kids. Like, we're not going to make we're going to make stuff that is dark, that doesn't come across as dark, right? Like, our characters in Dragon Prince, I think, struggle with all kinds of things that we hope that people feel like they see themselves a little bit in some of our characters.
And you even add, I mean, it's in a lot of basic animation, you see the bad guys as bad guys.
Yeah.
But like in Breaking Bad, I just saw an AMV done on Breaking Bad.
Sure.
Where the evil guys have or the guys that are doing bad things have the good side.
Yeah.
And I sort of see a little bit of complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lord Viren, who could be construed as a villain in our show, I think has a lot of things that are not villainous about him, right? And so I think that makes a really interesting. It's a fun character to write, and then Jason Simpson, who plays him, brought just a whole level of depth to the performance that I think just egged us on.
And that character has 2 kids. Also.
He does, yeah, Soren and Claudia.
So there's that relationship between those 2 kids.
That's right.
They're trying to make Dad happy, but they also want to do the right thing.
Right, and they actually have very different relationships with their father, and I think that's really interesting to sort of think about. And that
do you
kind of
see your kids and does that not in that? Not in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's more about the things I've gone through as a father and raising kids and how crazy that can be and all that stuff. I think all that goes in there for sure.
I understand when you're looking for creative moments, you might take a hike, you might look at your kids. I mean, is there somewhere along those lines where one of those things hit you and you got something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of yes, it happens all the time.
Sure.
It's hard to come up with a specific one, but there are definitely moments of your kid does something wrong or makes a really bad decision or whatever, and how do you make that a teaching moment without just wanting to throttle them, right? How do you hopefully impart the good values to them that they're going to grow up with, and I think I worry about it all the time. Am I doing a good job? I hope so.
Yeah, we all want to set a foundation. We know they're going to make decisions
right
wrong, because they're not going to be, even at 12-year-olds, they're in the playground. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want them to be able to figure out.
Yeah. I mean, look, they got to live their lives too. I'm not gonna, I'm trying not to helicopter parent. Yeah.
So, as well, I understand you like Marvel over DC.
I am. I'm a big Marvel. I'm sorry. I do. That's not. That's not exactly fair. I love comic books. So just in general, I love the comic medium. I'm a huge comic book fan. I read Batman. I read Superman. I read JLA. So it's not that I don't read them, but the storytelling style that I am attracted to falls much more squarely in the Marvel camp than the DC camp. And that's just a personal preference.
No, for sure. I mean, the Marvel movies, I think most people know the movies better than the comic books to a degree, right? Mm-hmm. So 22 movies that got them to where they needed at the very end. Yeah. All entangled, and that's why Marvel did the universe with Stan Lee. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing about Marvel movies and MCU is the directors they chose to hire are not traditional action directors, right? They hired basically comedy guys or people that had done sort of fun stuff. Yeah. And I think it's that levity combined with this, you can have a guy who gets killed and then in the next scene, it still kind of works that they're joking around the next morning. And, I think that adds a lot to that. And then also just having a persistence of vision of having somebody at the top who's sort of been there, Kevin's been there for so long. It feels like that helps, I think.
And it's a little easier, I think, with smaller productions, if you will, than, let's say, big ones. Star Wars had, its canon and stuff, and they brought on different people that wanted to break that canon up a little bit. Yeah. And it gets difficult that way, right?
It's hard. Look, I don't envy anybody working on all. I mean, look, those franchises are so huge and beloved by so many people. I'm sure it is so daunting to even think about. There's so many pieces to it that it's remarkable that anything gets made at all at that level.
So things take a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I'm sure you're a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah, I love Harry Potter, of course. Yeah.
That third movie with I think it was Guillermo that they directed.
It was Alfonso, right?
Alfonso.
Directed.
Very different, but I mean, directors, overseers of individual seasons or episodes. Do a different take.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, like Yates, I think he directed the last 5, right? I think he directed most of that, and I think he brought sort of just this sweeping vision to that franchise. It's funny, I came to Harry Potter, I'm a little bit older, right? So I came to Harry Potter a little late. I started reading it in college, and my friend's mom I've been a huge fantasy fan my whole life. My friend's mom, who's a librarian, was like, "You have to read this book," and it was the first one, and I was like, I don't know, seems like a kid's book. And then finally over a Christmas break, she's like, "Look, it'll take you this afternoon. Just go read this book." So I did, and then I literally went out and bought. Up to 4, I think, was out, and just read through them that whole break. That's all I did.
It's amazing how young kids, my 15, 16-year-old started reading Lord of the Rings when he was 13.
Sure.
And loved it.
Yeah.
And now he's reading Game of Thrones and said, "Dad, is that okay?" I'm like, "All right, you're 16."
It's borderline. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, it's probably borderline.
Yeah.
But I can't stop him. And
look,
he's into fancy and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And he does his own little writing too.
Cool.
So what should we expect this third season for?
So that's a good question. I mean, I think we pulled out all the stops. It's a lot of stuff happens. We're going to drop a trailer today, actually at 3:30. You'll be able to stream it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's. I think it's the best season yet. I think we were learning every show you work on, everything you work on, you sort of learn how to do it as you do it, right? And by getting to the third season, we were like, okay, here, we kind of know how it works, and we were able to really push hard on style and story and all the things we had.
And the animation's actually even. I understand from the first to the second season, the animation itself.
Yeah, I think we've refined the style, and I think in the third season is absolutely the best thing we've done for sure as a studio. I'm super proud of it.
Right. We're at the tail end of this, so
sure.
But they can find what's the website they can go?
So Wonderstory.net is our company. There's the DragonPrince.com, which has all Dragon Prince things on it, and then it's on Netflix right now. You can watch season 1 and 2, which is 18 episodes, and then the third season is coming out November 22nd. So
9 episodes also.
9 episodes also.
All right, cool.
Yeah, more time though. It's longer.
Is it longer?
Yeah, it's a little bit longer. We got more minutes. So we were very lucky that Netflix gave us some extra time.
Netflix is a behemoth. And,
yes.
And when it comes to anime and animation now, it's just eating the space up.
I mean, it's everybody. It's really interesting because right now there's so many people getting into that market. It's a fascinating time to be making stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So if you're a creative person looking for a job in California,
please, especially if you're a video game person.
Video game person.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah.
So we've been with Justin Richmond, executive producer of Wonderstorm and one of the co-creators of The Dragon Prince. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great.